Hi guys! Today I'm going to tell you a story about an astral projection from when... Okay, so this is an astral projection from when I had two pet rats. Their name were Henri and Gus Gus, and they had just passed away. This was right before I got Molly, so I was missing them. Of course, you guys know that's one of my main reasons for astral projecting, trying to see my loved ones on the other side. And Henri and Gus Gus, when they passed away, I had them euthanized both at the same time because they were bonded, and it was pretty sad. Monsieur was with me already, and it was getting harder and harder to astral project for me because Monsieur was taking up a lot of space and time and energy in my life. So this was my attempt to reach out to Henri and Gus Gus in the afterlife, I guess. So the night before, I used a technique the night before while I was trying to astral project, going to bed. The technique I used, this is not necessarily a technique, but it's a good way to prepare. It's like a pre-exit technique. Ryan Cropper talks about this technique, and I believe William Bullman talks about this technique. It's when you imagine physically touching things in a place that's further away from your physical body. So for example, you imagine you're in your living room and you're touching like the desk, the chair, the sofa. You find things, you hold them, and you try to imagine what it would be like really to be in that space doing these things you're doing. And so I did that, but I did kind of like a mini ritual to honor my rats, because before they passed, I used to give them piggyback rides on, hey, this is Molly. If you guys don't know Molly yet, that's Molly, huh? Yeah, big nice cat, black cat. She's a nice girl, I love her. And she's the one who entered my life after Henri and Gus Gus passed away. So she never got to meet them. So what happened is I used this technique of, I think it's called tactile visualization. And I imagined myself giving my pet rats a piggyback ride on my back, because I used to do that for fun with them. I used to give them piggyback rides around my house. I dropped them off on a counter or on top of a bookcase or something, and that would be kind of like their fun thing, visiting the house. I'd be like their little transport or whatever. And so I did that in my mind. I imagined I went around the house, you know, with my pet rats on my back, the two of them, and dropping them off on a counter, on a chair, on the ground. And it wasn't long doing that I clicked out, and I found myself outside of my body. Initially, I didn't even think I was out. I was on the floor beside my bed. I'm like, well, did I get out? Or did I just... So I just left my body really fast, went towards the living room. And when I got to my living room, I was walking pretty fast, and I kind of tripped on the carpet. And so I was walking, walk, trip on the carpet. And then I kind of, instead of landing flat on the floor, I kind of became floating or flying in horizontal position, but kind of going down like this. And I flew right into the ground where like the wall meets. So I came in like this, and I plunged into the ground in my astral body, with my energy body, plunge. And when that happened, I found myself in kind of like a portal, like a dark void, but I felt there was movement in a certain direction. I was being pulled, or I was just floating or moving through this, was probably a tunnel, portal, whatever. It was so dark, I couldn't see where I was going. It's not like you felt like you were in the night sky. It was dark, pitch black dark, the void. And I was floating in a direction, and it lasted for a long time, like several minutes. Nothing was happening. I was just moving forward. I'm like, am I gonna get there at some point? And it took a while. And then at some point I thought I need to do something. And so I started calling out for Henri and Gus Gus. So like, Henri, Gus Gus, are you there? And it wasn't long after I started doing that, maybe 5 or 10 seconds, that finally I was at the end of that tunnel, and I could see I was coming to, it felt like an escalator going up, and it was still very dark. It was the void, but there was an escalator, and it was going up, and there was light there. So like at the end of the tunnel, a light. But I had to use that escalator, so I got up the escalator, up into the light, and then there were two ladies there behind a desk. It felt like I was arriving somewhere and they were doing reception there. And I went to see a first lady, and for some reason it's like I knew she was a veterinarian, and I got nervous, I think, because she was a veterinarian, and because I had wanted to see Henri and Gus Gus, and they'd just been euthanized. I was feeling sensitive about that, seeing the veterinarian. And then I kind of got nervous, and I said, "Oh, please just show me nice things." So she said, "Okay, come with me." And then the other second lady, I don't know why she was there. I didn't really talk to her. She was gonna be talking to other people there, I guess. But this first lady I just talked to, she brought me over. There was kind of like a big hallway, and there was a huge wall, and it was kind of like shaped in a circular shape, and it was made out of cement, gray cement, with some royal blue kind of decorations, white, blue. It was very colorful, but on top of like a cement wall, very tall cement wall. Walked around that wall. Then we came to an opening in that wall. It felt like I had just entered, imagine like a big arena. I even asked the lady, "Is this an arena?" And she said, "Maybe, it's possible." And so I entered this space where it looked like it would have been an arena, but they would have taken off the the ice from the ground, and now it was just a cement ground. And there was a stage in the middle, some high chairs and high tables there. People gathered at the tables, just like if you went to like an event in an arena that had been repurposed for, events. And the veterinarian that was leading me to this place brought me to a table where there were other women, and she placed me right beside this one woman, and there were other women there, and she went to talk to them to let them know that me and this other woman were her guests. And then she left. So everyone is like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And the lady beside me, she kind of like bowed, and for some reason, I don't know, I needed to be dramatic, I guess. I decided to do a pirouette. And as I did the pirouette, I realized I had skates on my feet, and I almost tripped on my feet and skates as I tried to pirouette, just to like whatever. And the lady beside me stopped me from falling over, and I looked at her and I realized, "Oh my God, I know you. We used to skate together, didn't we?" And she's like, yes, I remember." So this was a woman I knew back when I was a teenager and I was a skater. And when I noticed that, and I got happy about that, I started thinking back about that time, and I was pulled back to my body. And so I didn't get to see a show, nothing else, didn't get to speak with these people, and I was pulled back to my body. I never got to see Henri and Gus Gus, and even later, I never had a chance to meet with them in the Astral, which is very sad. I tried a few times, I never got there. I had other types of visitations, but not through astral projection. And that was the whole astral projection. But something that's very cool about this experience is that back then I had Monsieur. Okay, Monsieur was already in my life, and it was kind of getting difficult for me to astral project because Monsieur had severe astral projection. And I'm gonna have to make a video about that. Like when I tried a few times, Monsieur would come out of body with me, and he didn't want me to leave, even in the astral. And so it was becoming difficult for me to astral project. So I was lucky that I could even attempt it that time during the week that I lost Henri and Gus Gus. But okay, so what happened is I had Monsieur, and a few days after this astral projection, I was bringing Monsieur to a doggy hotel that had a daycare in it, and I wanted to test if he could be a participant in a doggy daycare. It was just a test day, like he went there for an hour. And so I got to this place, and when I came in, the person at the reception desk was the same woman who greeted me in the Astral a few days earlier. I didn't tell her, hey, we just met in the Astral, but seriously, it was the same woman. She greeted me the same way. She was not a veterinarian in the physical world, but she was working in the animal field, just in a doggy hotel, doggy daycare. And yeah, I was pretty psyched about that. Like, never, I don't even think that happened again after that. I'll have to check my notes, but I think it's the only time I met someone in the Astral before I met them in the physical. And so that was the whole story of that astral projection. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stories, and I will see you in the next one.